Daybreak Africa is your one-stop top-notch breakfast show that brings you all the interesting stories happening in and around Africa.
Because we have all the morning essentials,
including the latest news, sports, weather, and events. And of course, the people.
Daybreak Africa on television Nigerian.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Abuja. Good morning, Nigeria. I hope we're all doing fine this very fine Wednesday morning. My name is Mercy Joe.
And my name is Elvi Soga. I'd like to say a very beautiful good morning to you and many thanks for joining us on today's edition of Daybreak Africa on television Nigeria.
Good morning, Elvis.
Good morning, Mercy.
So today is Wednesday, Woman Crush Wednesday.
Exactly.
Please drop your Woman Crush Wednesday name there on the segment, and if it's me, please drop my name there.
You're really campaigning for yourself.
I'm my Woman Crush Wednesday.
All right, it's all good.
Yes.
Just yesterday, we got a series of news about happenings at the floor of the National Assembly, particularly from the Senate, where there was passage of so many bills. We'll be taking a look at some of them.
The recommendation of the life imprisonment for kidnappers removes time limit on rape cases.
Yes.
So life imprisonment for kidnappers. Yes, that's a very serious crime. They should have the life.
Now, initially, the law that's actually been a practice or that is in place in so many parts of the country talks about 10 years maximum jail term for kidnappers. And you know, as the society keeps growing and evolving, we tend to see different crime take different pattern and different forms. Just on Friday, we had the retired AIG, and he was talking about you cannot approach a crime in different places, maybe with different with the same approaches. You need to look at, okay, what's the most prevalent crime in this place, and then you adopt an approach that's suitable to that place. I think with the rate and the current wave of kidnapping in the country, this is actually needed, because whatever it is done to see that we discourage or dissuade some of these illicit behavior is what is needed at the moment.
It's true. They need them to see what is happening, to know, okay, how severe is it, so that they know that they don't go into that sort of crime.
Apart from that, most things that Nigerians don't get comfortable with, it's not all about having this prescription on ground. It's all about implementation. If someone is found wanting,
genuine implementation.
How do we go about these things? Most times you see that it is when someone is actually found wanting, you know that he has influential family members, people coming to tell you, he is my cousin, he's my brother's brothers. They start claiming relationship, and at the end of the day,
these people go scot-free again. They
tend to compromise judgment and all of that. We are not saying any profession is bad, but like we said, you know, times without number, there are statements credited to some well-meaning figures in the world that talked about Nigeria not only needing strong personality but strong institutions. So once our institutions are strong, and then we can interpret these laws very well, implement them very well, and have some people face the full wrath of the law to serve as deterrent to others, and then we have discouragement of people not really going into this type of heinous crime.
It's just like yesterday on the program on the radio that we're talking about the bypassing of lights and prepaid meters, and we were saying, and you know, I was asking that question, that what do they even do to people that do that. They do another bypassing again.
People who are found guilty or culpable of this crime.
So at the end of the day, it looks like these people get away with this, and there's no punishment attached to their crimes or whatever. And
that is why we see increase on the wave. So many people see it as a lucrative business. Okay, times that number, we've had news, or we've actually talked about so many notorious kidnappers being arrested, and we all know that that's the process of democracy, that you have to follow due process. You cannot just maybe do some kangaroo trial or just order a decree. You need to
there has to be follow suit. There has to be evidence, first of all, that the person committed the crime before they actually. And
even if there are evidence, if there's that political will is not there, or that willingness is not there from the stakeholders or the major players in the scenario, you might not really get a desired result. So I think the Senate has done really well by passing or prescribing this jail term. What they need to do is just to do strong monitoring, and then all the people that are supposed to do the principle of checks and balance to see that, okay, the institutions that are meant to implement these laws are actually follow to the letter, and see that they implement it properly.
Okay, and then talking about the elimination of gender restriction in the offense of rape.
Apart from that, the bill also seeks to recognize a male as rape victims. And earlier on, before we came on, said we were talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying now. Yeah. I was talking about as in removing gender, eliminating gender and restrictions.
Okay, I was thinking you were talking about time restriction.
In terms of male. Like, not only the females are rape victims. Subsequently, we've been seeing males that are rape victims, but they can't even come out to even say, I am a victim of rape. So that means the law is trying to give a voice to the male victims as well.
That's when I was talking about the societal approach, the societal response to when men speak up about being raped or being victims of rape. How do the society react to that? Sometimes they can actually turn it around and be like, okay, maybe you try to woo her and she did not succumb and you try to blackmail her. But in the other way around, we don't see people come up with all of these assumptions.
At what instance, at what time, how exactly can a male victim be raped? People ask that question. Yes, so they tend to...
They don't tend to believe you.
They don't tend to believe, and they tend to feel like it's amusing.
So for the Senate to actually recognize this is quite good. Some people have actually of the opinion or school of thought that male could actually be more of rape victims than female, but because they don't really speak out, we don't see, or people don't really pay attention to it. Because they have to be
strong. Yeah, I was bringing up that argument today. Because they have to be strong, they really don't want to come out to the society as weak by bringing it out there and saying, I, a man, I was raped. They feel like, they look at them as. But then the law is saying you can come out, you can go to the police. I mean, there are lots of men in the police station, so if you feel, you can meet one of them and say, this person did this to me, and you take it up in the courts.
One important part of that bill I actually came across is the timeline removal as regarding when rape cases can be decided. You know, they actually issues.
You even talked about limitations.
Yes, that limitation. That's what I'm talking about. Where you come out to maybe a crowd against a rape, a crowd against rape. Maybe you've been a victim of rape, and it's been so many years ago, and you start hearing questions like, why did you take so long to speak up? Why this, why that? Like, this law now is in place to remove that timeline or that time limitation.
So it doesn't matter, even if it was 20 years ago
or 100 years,
100 years ago, you can still come and report a rape case later. I mean, we saw a situation like that last year. People talking about the long duration before the person spoke.
I actually followed the process, and the Senate committee that's actually in charge of this was talking about when the issue was taken to major stakeholders concerning this bill. They saw that people had divergent views concerning it, but they were able to put all of them together and see where the people's thought or opinions are, and they came up with this bill. So it's good.
Yeah, it's a good one. That is really very good.
Interestingly, talking about the federal government and then the agreement to pay salary of some staff of private schools.
I saw that news and I was like, private schools being paid by the federal government. So that's like a form of their own palliative to them, because they weren't working for like 3 months. Yes, that's from March, April, May. And I say June because this is July, so that's 4 months. Wow, that's a good one from the federal government there, because one would think that they are only taking care of their own federal staffs, but they are moving as far as from their own federal staffs to the private staffs as well. So that's good there.
It's very good. I saw that, before they actually came up or they came to this agreement, they've talked about trying to advise these private schools to get loans from CBN. They are actually let the Apex Bank have some level of special arrangement for them.
But have they been able to access the loans?
They will report that the loans were released, but we don't know how willing they were to go take the loans, because from this report I saw that they were actually pleading on the federal government to talk to CBN so that it will help them regulate other commercial banks to help them granting maybe a single-digit interest loan, and then grant them moratorium for people who have actually been owing loans to some of these banks already. So when you look at all of these things, you see that COVID-19 has actually come to maybe test us and expose how compassionate we are to each other, or to mankind and several other things.
Irrespective of government and private.
Business of governance is all about the general welfare of the people, irrespective of where they find themselves or the other. But just that we need to set our priorities right and all. So if the federal government see that this is important, if you follow the story very well, you see that the Association of Proprietors of Association of Proprietors of Private Schools actually sent a letter of recommendation seeking this approval to the Office of the Vice President, which is in charge of the Committee on Economy. And he saw that, okay, this was important, and he granted them. So they were actually happy. But one key thing we need to look at from all of these stories is the fact that this is only applicable to schools who register under the association. So if you happen to find yourself in any field and they are special, and they are, apart from private school, on a general note, maybe as a journalist and you are not registered under NUG and all, if there are benefits like this, or when there are interventions like this, you'll not be eligible to partake or perform, or to benefit from. So that's why it's important for people to see that, okay, they're keen to every legitimate organization that borders around their profession. I
see it as a way that the federal government has tried to make things easier, even for the private sector. Because these teachers in these private schools, most of them may have, okay, because I have not been paid for this past month, and because actually school wasn't in session, most of them may not be so gingered enough to want to even resume back their duties. So this, in a way, will actually make them, okay, it's good, this money is coming in for this so months that I was not available and school was not in session, and then it makes them, it's like a ginger, it's going to ginger them to do more.
You're saying it's more like a motivation and incentive.
Exactly.
I have a whole lot of people who actually found themselves in these shoes. You keep hearing series of complaints. This particular gesture by the federal government is going to have a whole lot of ripple effect. You not know, people, even though there is no moral justification for crime, people might want to think some other way just to resort to any means of survival if some of these things are not addressed. So for the federal government to address this is going to go a long way. It's going to help people stay off crime, stay off every form of illegal activities, if truly they might want to go into some of those illicit deeds because of maybe difficulties and all. So this is going to bring succor to a whole lot of people that happen to find themselves.
So now the federal government is saying they're going to do this, and then we'll wait to see the implementation of this. All right, talking about COVID-19 and then what it has cost. Let's go to the figures of COVID-19 for today.
Okay.
COVID-19, 463 new cases were recorded yesterday of the coronavirus in the country, bringing to a total of 33,616 cases of coronavirus in the country. I mean, Lagos is always on the top of the list with 128.
I saw that.
Followed by Kwara, Ilorin.
And then I saw Enugu at the very top.
39, Enugu.
Yes.
I mean, these were states before that. Probably the second state you'd see before would be Kano or Abuja.
Yes.
But now you see Abuja, like, really, FCT is 12.
12. I saw that.
Like, down there, and you're like, okay. Well, 13,792 recoveries. That's a good one. Sadly, 754 deaths.
You know, if you look at the chart on a general note, you see that apart from Lagos, the state that have actually been coming second and subsequent numbers below have actually been fluctuating. And then Lagos seems to maybe have remained constant. Maybe you might want to look at the population of Lagos and then how much effort they have been putting in concerning testing.
Because you know they're testing every day.
Yes.
Lagos test about 1,000 plus every day, and out of that 1,000 plus, about 100 come out from it positive every other day. But you know, the question we see asked is, how do they do this testing? for these people? Do they just tell them to come to the particular center and get tested, or they move out?
Around?
Like, the time we're talking about community testing in some places, areas in Abuja. So is that how they're carrying it out, or what? But anyway, we know that they are testing.
So like I was saying, you see the likes of FCT that used to be second on the chart or on the log and everything. And lately, you've been seeing FCT down, down, down. Then you need to do your checks. Is it that the testing have reduced, or maybe people are now becoming more careful with the way they go about their businesses, which has led to reduction of contacting this disease? If that is the case, then other states who happens to be on the rise with the number of cases they get on a daily now tends to take, they need to take a leeway from what FCT has been able to do to see that they have had reduction in the number of cases on a daily. If that could be done, like take for instance, and when I saw that they had 39, and this morning I was quite worried, because like you said, these are states that ordinarily you might want to see maybe one or two cases. Okay, look at Benue. Initially, Benue was just having just a case or two cases, which one of them has actually been the bone of contention, whether it was real or not, for days, weeks, even close to months. Benue figure was just static. All of a sudden, it started growing out of proportion, that we now had some top government officials actually contracted the disease and all. So they need to look at other states that have been getting it right. What have they been doing? And then look at if that is feasible in their state, taking a look at maybe their economic activities and maybe measures being implemented in the state.
The reason why Lagos is recording more cases every other day is because they are doing testing every day. But now, one confirmation that we haven't gotten from other states is if they do the same testing every day. Because I feel that some states don't really do those testing every day. They just, okay, someone is calling the NCDC line, like, I think I have the symptoms, come and get me tested or something. I think that's what's happening, because I think if every state should really genuinely do their testing of close to probably 500 or 1,000 in a day, they would see more cases. That's the truth. Because someone like FCT now, ordinarily you will ask, what measures is FCT really taking? Because it's activity as usual here. How many times do you see people with their face mask on the road? So I think the way Lagos does their testing is what makes them to have more cases like this. If Lagos doesn't do those daily testings, we won't see figures like that.
When I started bringing this scenario, I was like looking at excluding Lagos from this, because like the number of testing we talked about, and then their large population we talked about too.
Well, I'm giving an instance,
yes,
because if we're saying trying to adapt measures that probably we can take to reduce, but so I'm looking at it from the testing angle. Like FCT, you said, they were having much cases earlier on. Are we trying to look at, okay, maybe their testing capacity have actually reduced over time? Because we used to have, there were sometimes we have above 60 cases, 50, 40 cases in FCT. But for some days now, we've not really have up to 20 cases from FCT. So is it that the testing have reduced in FCT, like you asked earlier on, or is it that people are becoming more careful? More careful. So it's two questions. Is it that people are really becoming more careful in FCT, or they have stopped testing the coronavirus cases in FCT? Anyway, that does it for that. It has a lot of questions. It's time to go to the news desk to get news from Susan Archin.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health and WHO. There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart disease.
Good morning and welcome to AM News. I am Susan Achin. Nigeria's COVID-19 infections have risen with 463 new cases, bringing the total number of infections in the country to 33,616. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) confirmed this in a tweet on Tuesday night. The new infections were identified in 16 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. NCDC, however, noted that a total number of 13,792 patients have recovered and been discharged, while the country's death toll stands at 754. Despite the suspension of the federal government's special public works program by the National Assembly, the federal government says the program is kicked off across the country. The Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Mr. Festus Keyamo, on Tuesday inaugurated special committees in all the states of the Federation and the FCT for the selection of applicants for the program. The SPW is a post-COVID-19 poverty alleviation program approved by President Muhammadu Buhari, under which 1,000 persons are to be employed from each of the 774 local government areas in the country. The initiative is expected to commence on October 1, and according to the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, each beneficiary will be paid 20,000 naira monthly to carry out public works. Now, a flight conveying 329 stranded Nigerians in the United Kingdom has arrived at Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, said on Tuesday. Earlier, 261 stranded Nigerians had arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja at exactly 7 p.m., according to NIDCOM. The Lagos flight landed at exactly 8 p.m., the Diaspora Commission said in a tweet. The flights are part of efforts to bring back stranded Nigerians abroad amid the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, the 2019 budget defense of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, by the agency's Interim Management Committee, IMC, has suffered a setback. This comes as the acting managing director of the NDDC, Professor Keme Bradikumo Ponde, led the agency's executive director of project, Dr. Cairo Ojugbo, and other top officials to the National Assembly in Abuja to defend the agency's budget for the previous year. The NDDC team appeared before members of the Joint Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Niger Delta on Tuesday. However, they could not defend the agency's budget as the lawmakers pointed out some discrepancies in the budget. No fewer than 200 doctors in Lagos State have contracted coronavirus in the line of duty. This is according to the Medical Guild in its response to an earlier statement from the state government on the ongoing warning strike by doctors in the state. In a statement jointly signed by the association's chairman and secretary, Dr. Oluwajimi Sodipo and Dr. Ismail Ajibowo, on Tuesday, the group said the government was aware of the situation. It decried that while members were committed to their duties, a large number of those who tested positive have infected members of their families. And onto the entertainment scene, popular Nigerian media personality Ebuka Obi Uchendu clocked a new age on Tuesday, July 14. The much-loved Big Brother Nigeria's show host was celebrated by his wife Cynthia in a lengthy and emotional post shared on Instagram. Cynthia, in her post, noted that words could never be enough to describe how she felt about him, while praising his many achievements as a media personality. Well, congratulations to the charming Ebuka Obi Uchendu. And that's it on AM News. I am Susan Achin. We now go across Africa for some more news. Stay with us.
On Daybreak Africa, Burkina Faso President Roch Marc Christian Kabore's party backed him Saturday to run for re-election despite struggling to crush a bloody jihadist insurgency. Simon Kapore, president of the People's Movement for Progress, NPP, made the announcement to cheering supporters at a stadium rally in the capital Ouagadougou. The decision, which came after several hours of closed-door discussions among party delegates, came as a little surprise as he was his party's only candidate to run. Kabore himself could not attend the event because of his role, said a party executive. But in a message read out by a party spokesman, he welcomed the decision and promised to build solidarity and movement in the country. Thousands turned out in a massive show of force, filling a 5,000 capacity sports stadium in Ouagadougou and 20 giant tents outside. Crowds wearing party colors of white and orange had been buzzed in from all over the country. The Prime Minister, National Assembly Speaker, and First Lady also turned up at the stadium, ignoring the coronavirus pandemic to voice support as the crowd inside the stadium shouted NPP victory. Since Kabore took charge, however, a jihadist offensive has advanced across the nation, igniting ethnic squabbles, claiming at least 1,100 lives and forcing nearly 1 million people from their homes. Kabore's performance during this mounting crisis is now under scrutiny as the presidential ballot looms in November. The Ethiopian embassy in the United Kingdom will restore a bust of the country's last emperor in a London park. The bust of Haile Selassie was attacked by irate Ethiopians in early July. The Metropolitan Police confirmed the incident and said it was investigating. The toppled bust stood in the Canizaro Park located in London. Demonstrating youths were angered by events back home following the murder of Oromo artist and activist Hachalu Hundessa. He was gunned down in the capital Addis Ababa. The Deputy Head of Commission, Ababi Demesie, visited the site and announced late last Friday that the embassy will work with the Ethiopian community and local council to restore the statue. The protest broke out in Addis Ababa and across the Oromonia region after the killing of Hundessa as gangs engaged each other and security forces. 2 people have been arrested for the killing, while another is on the run. Mass arrests have also been recorded, with the combined death toll standing at 239. Internet was cut the morning after the shooting, and at the time of filing this report had yet to be restored. The Oromo diaspora has been actively campaigning since the murder, seeking justice for the murder in the UK, where a group of youth targeted the bust as a way of protest. Haile Selassie was emperor of Ethiopia from 1930 to 1974. He is revered as the returned messiah of the Bible among the Jamaican-born Rastafarian movements. Now, Tanzania's ruling party has endorsed the candidature of President John Pombe Magufuli for upcoming presidential polls. The president doubles as the CAM national chairman. His endorsement was at a national congress in the capital, Dodoma, today. The president doubles as the CCM national chairman. His endorsement was at a national congress in the capital, Dodoma, on July 11. He also confirmed the choice of Samia Suluhu as his running mate. Magufuli yet again rejected talk of him running for a third term. The idea was raised by retired President Ali Hassan Mwinyi. Magufuli, in rejecting the proposition, said the former leader was cracking some unusual jokes. Mwinyi, who heaped praises on Magufuli, said he had more in store, for which reason he should consider a third term. In December 2019, Magufuli pledged to respect the constitution that stipulates a 2-term limit for the office of president. Magufuli said at the time that he was determined to discourage Tanzanians from harboring such thoughts, arguing that all 55 million Tanzanians have the ability to lead the country with the help of God. Now, Mali's embattled President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta on Saturday announced the dissolution of the Constitutional Court in an attempt to calm civil unrest that has gripped the country. Now, the court has been at the center of the controversy in Mali after it overturned provisional results for a parliamentary poll earlier this year, triggering protests in several cities that on Friday descended into violence. Now, Keïta, in an address, said that he had decided to repeal the licenses of all the remaining members of the Constitutional Court and to move towards the implementations of the recommendations of the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS. Clashes raged again in the capital Bamako on Saturday as demonstrators, angered by a long-running conflict, economic woes, and perceived government corruption, demanded Keïta's resignation. Now, the president noted he is fully committed to a dialogue with the opposition to resolve the crisis. Mali's opposition coalition accused security forces of detaining 2 leaders of the anti-government protests and raided its headquarters on Saturday. That is the much we have for you on News Across Africa. Daybreak Africa continues shortly.
All right, welcome back. That was News Across Africa there. So, yesterday we asked the question. We asked how many days are there in a leap year?
And we actually had a series of answers, about 3 answers right here. And it seems all of the answers are correct. The first person is here, in the name of the person of Adehenu, Lord Prince says, 1 leap year is 365 days.
Accurate. And then this is coming from Duro Timmy John. Yeah, Duro Timmy John was our first winner that we handed over the book to the other day.
Wow.
He said 366 days. He said?
Yeah, he had an attempt anyway. I'm feeling like you already know that's the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just trying to be modest. All right, and then lastly, Ife Samuel said 366 days as well. So
it's a clap. Everyone got the answer there. So thanks for dropping your comments. And then we have our book, Integrity versus Power Play, for our winners.
You were asking me what do we do when we have 3 correct answers and all. And I was saying maybe we should just give it to the first person that answered correctly. Or when I reach out to the producer and the general manager to decide on what to do concerning that. Meanwhile, the question for the day reads, what is the name of the worldly event where you can look at the sun only wearing special glasses? Don't forget to send your answers on the comment section below the post on our page right here on Television Nigeria.
Probably read that question out again. What is the name of the worldly event where you can look at the sun only wearing special glasses?
Wow. I like that.
I already know the answer because Elvis told me. I didn't know before.
Oh, okay. Let's take you to our next package, which happens to be the newspaper review segment, where we take a look at headlines from some of the national dailies. All
right. Let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. The big headline here: reps to investigate mass resignation of 365 soldiers. Decry poor welfare arrangements. That's on page 2. You know, we're talking about that. I was asking you, and you said you don't think it's resignation. Is they actually
I actually saw a news that came from some quarters trying to defend that it was actually retirement, no resignation. But it's good that the reps are actually trying to get to the root of
investigate
the
whole issue.
Yeah.
All right, below that, 774,000 jobs. I have Buhari's approval to go ahead. That's from Keyamo. Says recruitment begins nationwide. Wow. That's a good one. That's a page 31.
I came across that news earlier on as well, and I was like, I hope this is not going to bring some kind of rift between the executive and the legislative arm.
Once again. All right. Above that, reps want federal government to reverse decision on 2020 WASC. WASC. Decision wrong. Lives of 1.5 million candidates hang in the balance. That's coming from Affair. And again, that's on page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And beside that, panel investigates 21 allegations against Magu, grills 4 EFCC sectional heads. That's on page 25 as well. Still beside that, NAS halts NDDC budge defense over missing 143 billion naira. 143 billion naira. That's on page 31 of the newspaper this morning. And I'll take this last headline here below the picture nameplate. Senate recognizes male as rape victim, proposes life sentence for kidnappers. That's on page 2. We talked about that.
That actually formed some of our major concerns for the day.
This morning.
We talked about them.
All right, that does it for the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. You can get a hold of those stories and many more on the front newspaper of the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, and a quick look at the Daily Sun reveals the following headlines. Just beside the nameplate, Nwodo, IPOB leader, Kano backed down, withdraws a stoning threat on Ohaneze president as Umbwazuidike Amechi broadcast peace. You can actually check that out on the page 28 of the Daily Sun. And below the nameplate, 774,000 recruitment, Buhari backs Keyamo. That story is on the page 8 of the Daily Sun. And the banner headline we have from the Daily Sun reads, WASI, reps reject FG's withdrawal order, demand reversal, non-participation will cause irreparable damage, Obi Afebebola are the ones saying this, and you can check out page 7 of the Daily Sun. Just below the picture story, Magu Day 7, panel grieves 4 EFCC unit heads. Buhari won't fail Nigerians on corruption war. That is coming from Presidency, and that story can be found on page 6 and page 3. And then from Lagos State, striking doctors have approved all allowances for health workers. That is coming from Sanwo-Olu. And people will tell you that is actually prompt, and some people might want to tell you they are looking forward to see a government of proactiveness, not reactiveness, because this is actually coming after they have declared their warning strike. She's actually marveling at me. I'll take this last one here. NDDC, Akpabio denies sexual harassment allegation. Rivers vows to protect Nunia. That is still talking about all the issues that have been rocking the Niger Delta Development Commission. That story can be found on the page 27. And then lastly, life jail for kidnappers, rapists. You can check that out on the page 5 of the Daily Sun. And that does it for the Daily Sun this morning. All
right, the Nation newspaper this morning, the big headline here says, Keyamo gets Buhari's nod on 774,000 public works job. State selection panels begin recruitment process. Below that, NDDC forensic auditors to examine 8,000 documents, says Akpabio. Above that, protest in Edo over Obaseki's plan to take 20 billion naira loan. Sponsored protests can't distract voters. That's on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. Above the nameplate, Lagos won't lament about doctors' strike, says governor. That's on page 2 and 3. Beside that, Ondo PDP aspirants testify against Ajayi. Delegates list under probe. That's on page 6 of the Nation newspaper, and that does it for the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, let's quickly take a look at headlines we have from the Daily Times. And the banner headline from this national daily reads, Army redeploys 37 generals, others. And then below the picture story coming from or concerning petroleum, Nigeria earned 80 trillion naira from petroleum export under Buhari. Health, COVID-19 remains #1 public enemy, World Health Organization warns government. Economy, LCCI calls for caution as Nigeria debt profile nears 33 trillion naira. And then just above the nameplate, we have the editorial story that reads, FCT master plan violations. You might want to take a look at that, especially if you're planning of maybe running some investment in the FCT so that you know which area you might really want to put your money.
Exactly.
All right, that does it for the Daily Times this morning.
All right, this day newspaper, that's my last paper here on the desk. The main headline here, analysts, will UK courts allow apparent attempts to defraud Nigeria of $9.6 billion? That's a question there. Judgment reserved as briefcase company cites desperation. Still beside the picture nameplate there, security agents mount surveillance on EFCC headquarter offices. Okay, above the nameplate there, OPEC forecasts 25% rise in oil demand in 2021. Tension eases as Saudi Arabia speaks to Iraq, Nigeria. And I'll take this last headline here. Virtual court sitting not unconstitutional, Supreme Court rules. That's on page 5 of This Day newspaper. So you can get a hold of the This Day newspaper this morning to get many more stories.
All right, that particular story will actually maybe put smile on the faces of people that are seeking justice, especially with the advent of COVID-19, or the event of COVID-19.
So people feel like, how are they going to take them to court?
And I saw that yesterday that the court were actually supposed to decide whether virtual proceedings or court proceedings is actually legal or illegal.
And they're saying it's not unconstitutional.
So it's good.
It's a good one there.
I think we need to find a way of going around several things else. Do you now say all the cases pending in court should remain until COVID-19 is over, where people can gather again? I think that's actually wisdom has played there. All right, let's take a look at headlines from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Just below the nameplate, Senate amends law, imposes life imprisonment on kidnappers. You can actually see that on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Nigeria's Iteboje emerges UN General Assembly Special Session Interim President. That's what we're still on the page 3. And then I wanted to talk about another appointment, but I'm seeing that on the front page already, so let's move on.
Moving on.
Baba Lola decries Nigerians withdraw from 2020 WASI. You can check that out on the page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And then to the story I wanted to bring earlier on, ECOWAS names ex-President Jonathan Special Envoy for Mali peace talks.
Really?
Yes, that story is on the page 4. And then the banner headline from the Guardian newspaper reads, local airlines risk collapse as load factor declines. Operators push for bailout, open flight, 14-day quarantine threatens Nigeria's aviation, 35 orders. And then below the picture story, why corruption, terrorism fester by federal government. You can pick a copy of the Guardian newspaper to check that out. And now we have the business day, which happens to be our last paper for the day, and we might really want to share the headlines, so I'll have you go first.
All right, I'll take the big headline here. Palm oil, poultry, packaging lead new manufacturing jobs as patronage spikes expansion by 25%.
Wow.
Recent statistics reflect opportunities in economy.
I think I would like to have a copy of this particular publication to see these new opportunities and see which one I can actually tap into. And now we take this last one, or maybe after this one we'll take the inside story. Amid fraud allegations, students on NDDC PTDF scholarships stranded abroad. And then the inside story is talking about Nigeria's e-commerce firms count losses amid rumored spike during COVID-19 lockdown. You can pick a copy of the Business Day newspaper to get the details of these stories and even more.
All right, so that does it for the dailies this morning. So our question for today still remains, what is what is the name of the worldly event where you can look at the sun only wearing special glasses? So you can drop your answer for us on the comment section there, and we'll reveal the winners of the answers tomorrow morning. So for now, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not...
Alright, sorry for that mix-up there. We are going to go to the Healthy Living Desk to see what they have for us, and then we'll be back.
The immediate effects of air pollution are hard to ignore. Watery eyes, coughing, and difficulty breathing are acute and common reactions. Welcome to Healthy Living on Television Nigerian. I am Chiwendu Osisiago, and today we shall be discussing on the effects of air pollution and health. An estimated 92% of the world population live in areas with dangerous levels of air pollution. Even at similarly levels, air pollution can increase one risk of cardiovascular and premature death. Air pollution is almost as deadly as tobacco. In 2016, it was linked to the death of 6.1 million people, according to the University of Washington Institute for Health Metric and Evaluation, and it might harm you even before you take your first breath. Exposure to high levels of air pollution during pregnancy has been linked to miscarriages as well as premature births, petrol disorder, and asthma in children. Air pollution may damage children's brain development, which kills almost 1 million children under the age of 5 every year and is caused by air pollution. Children who breathe in higher levels of pollutants also face a greater risk of short-term respiratory infections and lung damage. Other conditions associated with high levels of air pollution include emphysema and chronic bronchitis, as well as lungs cancer. Pollutants can affect cardiovascular health by hardening the arthritis and increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. And there is even emerging evidence that air pollution may be linked to mental health conditions and degenerate brain disease. How can air pollution damage the body? While air pollution linked to respiratory disease may seem obvious, its relationship to heart, brain, and fetal health is less so. There are at least two possible mechanisms by which air pollution can harm part of the body besides the nasal cavity and lungs. That is, according to Anthony Gerber at National Juris Health Endeavor, the first has to do with inflammation, which is the body's way of repairing itself after an injury or illness. When the toxic soup of chemical particles and liquid droplets emitted by cars, power plants, fires, and factories, known as particulate matter, is inhaled, the microscopic toxic dust can irritate nasal passage and result in an allergic type response to the pollution, with symptoms like coughing and a runny nose. Scientists believe that as the particles make their way deeper into the airways and into the lungs, the body may mistake it for an infection, triggering an inflammatory response. When you have a bad head cold, you feel sick everywhere, and your muscle might ache. Gerber said the same thing can happen when you breathe in pollution. In conclusion, the execution of environmentally friendly practices in Nigeria will help decrease the air pollution crisis in Nigeria that is present in households, businesses, and the outside environment. In order for the elimination of air pollution to be effective, the country must pursue the regulations for all Nigerians. And that's the much we have for you today on Healthy Living on Daybreak Africa. I am Chiwendu Osisiogo. Daybreak Africa continues shortly.
All right, welcome back. That was Healthy Living on air pollution. Air pollution right there. You see vehicles with all their exhaust fumes and even waste bin sites where they are trying to burn the refuse there. All those things they cause.
I wonder what happened to those days when we had incinerators all around where they now pack those refuse in there and then they burn them so that they now reduce the effect of the carbon monoxide that has been released by the combustion of these things. And
Elvis is trying to go scientific with us this morning.
I really have to. You know, the effect of actually pollution is very big, both to the environment
and to the human body and
system. Exactly. When you hear cases like ozone layer leak, where there are greenhouse gases causing ozone layer and then polluting the environment, is quite bad. Yeah. And then when you inhale some of those toxic as a result of air pollution, it could be quite detrimental to your health. True.
I would really love to go inwards, like really in-depthly with this, but I would love the people to really be with us this morning. I would love them to be with us. But then air pollution, because you see most areas these days, even in estates, you see there's one side that they toss all the waste bins to. You're not passing that side. Probably you're taking a walk in the evening, and then you're like,
can hardly
this
breathe.
place is where you would have to lock in your breath, and then move past that area. All right, we're going to launch our next package on Vox Pop. What will you do if you get shekau for a day? What will you do if you get shekau for a day? The streets had this to say.
Still on the security matters, if the Nigerian army captures Shekau and hands him over to you, what exactly will you do to him?
Yeah, if anyone hand over Shekau to me, the first thing I'm going to do is just to ask him his sponsors and those that have been of help to him. After then you will have to face the wrath of the law of the land, and that's it.
You will do what?
I'll praise the military.
And what is that going to do to him?
To the Shekau. I'll kill him. I'll cut him meat.
But what I can do is I can kill him, but it's not the right thing. We have to source some information from him before we kill him.
I'll bomb his ass to oblivion, of course.
He should be taken to a court, then tried, and whatever decision the court comes up with, that's all.
They don't need to hand over it to anybody. They just kill him straight down. That's all.
He should be in prison for life.
In prison for life.
If possible, death sentence.
If Shekau has been arrested by a Nigerian army, I will, if I'm be the one in the position, I will not kill him, but I will interrogate him by investigating who is his gang leader and who is sponsoring him.
I just want to talk like a thief man. If I see that guy, if nigga with that guy, I'll kill him.
We hope that the military captures Shekau soon. You can still drop your comments below. Peggy Shandy, TVN.
All right, you just heard for yourself from the street right there. What will you do if you have Shekau for a day? And so many people have actually been voicing out
their thoughts, their views.
I didn't just want to call it their thought. Maybe they're
thinking of the right thing to do.
Not being satisfied, but in a nutshell, some people were able to bring the angle of the law. They don't really take laws into their hands.
Yeah, he goes for trial, convicted.
And I was talking about, that means they have some level of confidence in our judiciary system, because some people might want to see, okay, you might want to see external forces trying to wade into the situation, especially for people who have allegedly been benefiting from the crisis in the country, which has led to the prolonged reign of insurgents and all. Yeah. And people are wondering, this Shekau have been reported to have been caught times without number. So, which other Shekau are we talking about?
Okay, one person even talked about applauding the military if he gets access to Shekau. Another person said something about him asking and wanting the sponsors in that way. That's
very holistic approach from these two comments right there.
I'm telling you,
applauding the military is very key because they have been doing a whole lot concerning the insecurity and terrorism in the country.
So if you're going to get him for one day, definitely kudos will be going to the military.
And then for the person that talked about him trying to get the sponsors to book,
who is
last week it was in the news that the DSS and other intelligence unit in the country are ready to go after the sponsors, because that is the reason why all the effort that has been put forward by the military seems not to be enough. Because if you're trying to fight this insurgent, there are people who actually supply their logistics and different other things for them. So by the time you cut their supply, get these people cut their supply, then the remaining fight will just be more like a child's play.
It's just like people being stuck up in a particular room, and then the food supply in there is over. There is no way they wouldn't want to come out at the end of the day or surrender. Okay. Anyway, leading to the next package on Street Grid, the meaning of POS by Nigerians on the street. So let's listen to what they thought was the meaning of POS.
Precisely, in fact, I don't know the meaning of POS.
Can you tell me the meaning of POS?
Payment of service.
Payment of service. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Very, very sure.
Yes, sir.
Passover service.
I don't know, because I've even asked my boss the meaning of the POS and I don't know. I've not gotten the answer. I don't know the meaning.
The acronym that POS. Do you know the full meaning? Can you tell me the full meaning?
I don't know.
You were not informed too. Continue.
Let me just try is payment open service.
Will you keep quiet?
People organization service.
Chai.
Payment organization services. I don't even know.
I beg, God no go shame us. We don't know what we do.
Really, I don't really know. I just have the idea of POS. Maybe I think it's personal organization system.
POS is people. P stand for people. And O, organization. S is for state. Point of.
Is this service or something? I don't even understand. I don't even know the full meaning.
POS. Nah, I don't forget that more. I don't know. I know that at all.
But you know it before?
You know it before? I know before.
Well, I don't know the meaning. What I just know is just that I go there and collect my money and make use of it.
Can you tell me the full meaning of that POS?
Point of sale.
Thank you, sir.
Point of savings.
Tell me the full meaning of POS. That P and OS. Full meaning.
The full meaning. The full meaning. The full meaning is. In fact, I cannot tell the. I cannot get.
What I want to ask you, can you tell me the full meaning of that POS? That P and OS.
It's point of sale.
Point of sale. Thank you, sir.
You.
Do you use POS?
Yes.
POS. When did you use POS last?
Maybe last week.
Last week. Okay. What I want to ask you, what is full meaning of that POS?
POS. I don't know.
Okay, let's start from P. What is the full meaning of that P there?
Private.
Well, the O. Okay, the S.
I don't know.
What is full meaning of POS?
Private of service. What do you use?
Okay, look my camera and say it again.
Private of service.
Private of service.
Yeah.
Can you say that again?
Private of service.
Yeah, thank you. But have you used POS before?
Yes, I do.
When last did you use it?
Today.
Today? Yes. Okay, what I want to ask you, can you tell me the full meaning of that POS?
POS. I don't know.
Okay, let's start from P. Can you tell me just the P?
I don't know.
Okay. What about the O? At least one of them I can. POS.
It's like I know, but I forget. The thing just went up my mind.
That's what I want. Let's see if you can remember. If you can remember it now, the P or the O, the S. Then you should remember one now. You can remember all of them. Hope you know.
I'm trying to remember, but I don't remember.
Let's go back. Okay, let's see. Just try P.
That's
so you can't try it now. This is hot. Okay, let's go for the O or S.
It's something P or social service.
Between using POS and going to bank, which one is more do you prefer?
I prefer POS.
Yes. Why?
Yeah, I'm not used to bank.
Okay.
Because of the line.
Okay, what I want to ask you, can you tell me when last you used POS?
When last? I use it today.
Today. Okay. Can you tell me the full meaning of that POS? My young camera. My don't focus on your camera. Camera is looking at you.
Hey.
Why interview me now?
So me go interview you.
Yeah. Just after you first now. Camera is looking at you. Okay, let's start from this. The P. Let's start from the P. Can you tell me the P?
POS.
Do you use POS?
Yes.
Do you prefer between POS and going to bank? Which one is more better?
POS.
POS?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me the full meaning of the POS?
I don't know.
Just try POS. Just try.
I don't know, like seriously.
And you can't try?
Yeah.
What about the P? The P inside the O. You can't try, get any of them? Any of them can get?
Yes.
Preferably POS. Consider where you live.
Well, don't you think the POS is more risky?
How? I don't think so.
Don't you think that some people can fraud with POS?
It depends. Maybe when you expose your PIN and other things to them, that is when I believe you can be robbed.
So you prefer POS?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to know, can you tell me the full meaning of that POS?
I don't know.
You can't try?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the P? What the P? You can't just, if it's the P, let's see.
I don't know.
What about the O?
No.
The S?
No.
Wow. So you can't try any of them. How is business going?
Business is going well.
Okay.
This POS.
POS?
Yeah.
Okay, actually I want to know, can you tell me the meaning of that POS?
Point of sale.
POS is more easy because these days with the queue, because of the COVID situation in town, with the queue and all, POS is easier to just access money very quickly. You just have to pay very little, 100 naira, 200. So it's better.
So when last you use POS?
Today.
Today?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the full meaning of that POS? Don't put my hands here. Okay, look my camera. Okay, let's just this way.
I really don't know.
Okay, the P. Let's start from P. Can you try on P?
I don't know. I don't know.
Can you get one of them? Any of them?
I don't know.
Both S. No.
I don't know.
I
don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Alright, welcome back from that interesting package, Street Cred, right there on the meaning of POS, full meaning of POS. And I listened to some hilarious ones. There's some people actually calling names of people.
Yeah.
And interestingly, most of the people we talked to, we spoke with, were people who operate the business.
And they didn't even know the full meaning of the POS.
It's quite funny. Don't forget, our question of the day still remains: what is the name of the worldly event where you can look at the sun only wearing special glasses? Send your answers to the comment section on our page on Television Nigeria, and then we will review the winners for tomorrow, and then we'll tell you, and we'll reach out to you on how you can come and get your prize
gift.
All right, that's been it today on Daybreak Africa, right here on Television Nigeria. I'd like to say a very big thank you for being part of the show. Join us tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, my name is Elvis Oga.
And my name is Messi Joe. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Television Nigeria. Do stay safe.
Daybreak Africa is your one-stop top-notch breakfast show that brings you all the interesting stories happening in and around Africa.
Because we have all the morning essentials,
including the latest news, sports, weather, and events. And of course, the people.
Daybreak Africa on Television Nigeria.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.